All right, so we are diving into this new project on Avalanche called Boy the Bear. And it's making some noise because it's trying to make getting into new projects, specifically pre-sales, more inclusive, for the whole Avalanche community.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how it kind of responds to that, frustration that a lot of people feel when they miss out on those early opportunities.
Right. Like pre-sales can be a huge deal, a chance to get in early.
Yeah.
But they've also been a bit of a point of contention with some people feeling left out.
Exactly. Boy the Bear seems to be addressing that.
One of the things that caught my eye is how they're using these memes and this whole grind fight idea to build excitement and actually determine who gets into the pre-sale.
It's like they're combining community engagement with this almost game-like competition.
Yeah, one YouTuber even said it's got a cute bear. But beyond the meme thing, it's this grind fight concept I'm really curious about. Can you break that down a bit?
Sure, so think of those online battles for attention. Like when projects have people competing for followers to win like a limited edition NFT that's a grind fight, and Boy the Bear is applying that same energy to their pre-sale.
So instead of just money or connections, it's about how actively you engage with the community.
Exactly. The more you participate, sharing content, creating memes, talking about the project, the higher you climb on their leaderboard, and that boosts your chances of getting into the pre-sale.
So it's like a game of skill and engagement, rewarding people for actually contributing to the community. But how does that actually work in practice? What are they doing that's different?
They have this live leaderboard that tracks your engagement. Imagine every meme you share, every comment you make earns you points. The more active you are, the higher you climb, and that directly impacts your chances of getting a pre-sale spot.
That's really interesting. So it's not just about who has the most time to spend online. It's about the quality of the engagement too,
Yeah.
right?
That's the idea. And it's designed to address, a major pain point in the Avalanche community, that feeling of being excluded from pre-sales by making it about active participation. They're trying to even level playing field.
This all sounds great, but I'm also thinking about potential downsides. Could this grind fight concept unintentionally exclude people who might not have the time or skills to create like viral content?
That's a valid concern. Not everyone thrives in that kind of competitive online environment.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see how Boy the Bear addresses that.
And you mentioned earlier that this leaderboard isn't the only factor determining who gets into the pre-sale.
Right. They're also doing a manual review of applications. In fact, the YouTuber we mentioned earlier pointed out that strong submissions will positively affect the application.
So they're actually looking at the quality of your engagement, not just the quantity. What does this manual review actually entail?
It means a real person will be looking at your leaderboard activity, checking for signs of genuine engagement. They'll be on the lookout for bot-like behavior, for example, making sure only real community members get in.
That's a pretty significant difference from some previous pre-sales where there were concerns about the selection process being, shall we say, less than transparent.
Absolutely. Remember the Blub pre-sale where they had over 100,000 applications? It's hard to imagine a thorough review process with that many submissions.
So with Boy the Bear, they're essentially trying to make the process more transparent and fair by combining this grind fight approach with a human touch.
Exactly. It's a novel approach, and it'll be fascinating to see if it actually works as intended.
Okay, so we've got this unique pre-sale system that combines community engagement competition and even a cute bear. But what does this all mean for the average person in the Avalanche community, someone who might be listening to this right now?
It means that instead of feeling frustrated or left out of pre-sales, you now have a chance to get involved in a way that rewards your active participation.
So instead of just hoping to get lucky, you can actually increase your chances by engaging with the community, creating content, and generally being an active member. That sounds pretty empowering, doesn't it?
It does. It's like they're saying, hey, we value your contribution, and we want to reward you for being a part of this.
That's a refreshing change from the feeling of exclusivity that many have experienced in the past.
Absolutely. And it raises an interesting question. Could this model, if successful, become a blueprint for other projects looking to launch in a fairer and more engaging way?
That's a great question. But before we go down that road, I want to circle back to this manual review process. How exactly will they identify and weed out bot activity? What specific signs will they be looking for?
That's a good question. They haven't released specific details about their bot detection methods, but it's likely they'll be analyzing things like the frequency and timing of posts, the originality of content, and patterns of interaction.
So essentially, they'll be looking for signs of genuine human engagement as opposed to automated activity. That makes sense. But what about people who might try to game the system without using bots? Could someone just spam the leaderboard with low-effort content to rack up points?
That's certainly a possibility, and that's where the manual review comes in again. They'll be looking for quality, not just quantity. They'll be able to identify and filter out submissions that are clearly just trying to game the system.
So the message seems to be clear. If you want to be a part of this, you need to show up authentically, engage meaningfully, and contribute to the community in a genuine way.
Exactly. It's not just about the financial gain. It's about being part of something bigger, something that values community and participation.
This all sounds pretty exciting, but it also raises some important questions about fairness and accessibility. We'll delve into those questions in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
It's fascinating to see how this grind fight concept, which usually revolves around hype and virality, is being repurposed to promote community engagement.
It really does flip the script on how we think about pre-sales, right?
Yep.
It's not just about who has the most money or the best connections, but who's willing to put in the effort to be a part of the community.
And that shift in focus could have like a ripple effect throughout the whole Avalanche ecosystem. Imagine other projects following suit. We could see a move away from those exclusive, often opaque pre-sale models towards something more inclusive and transparent.
It's like they're saying, hey, if you want to be a part of this, come join the party. Get involved and show us what you've got.
Precisely. And that kind of open invitation could attract a wider range of participants, bring fresh perspectives and talent into the Avalanche community.
But let's be real, not everyone is comfortable with this whole idea of a grind fight. Some people might find it intimidating or even off-putting.
That's true. That's a valid concern. Not everyone thrives in that kind of competitive online environment, and there's always a risk that it could inadvertently exclude people who might not have the time or the skills to create viral content.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance, right? You want to encourage engagement and reward participation, but you also don't want to create a system that feels inaccessible or unfair.
I think the key is in how Boy the Bear manages that balance. The manual review process, for example, seems to be an attempt to mitigate those risks.
Right. By having a real person look at the submissions, they can hopefully filter out those who are just trying to game the system and ensure that the rewards go to those who are genuinely engaged.
Exactly. And they can also take into account other forms of contribution that might not be reflected on the leaderboard.
Like what?
Well, maybe someone is really active in the community forums, offering helpful advice and support to others, but they're not as skilled at creating memes. The manual review could potentially capture that kind of valuable contribution.
That's a good point. It's not just about being loud or flashy. It's about adding value to the community in whatever way you can.
And that, I think, is what makes this experiment so interesting. It's not just about changing the mechanics of a pre-sale. It's about rethinking what it means to be a part of a crypto community.
It's about fostering a sense of belonging, encouraging participation, and rewarding those who contribute to the overall growth and success of the project.
And if that model proves successful, it could have a significant impact on the way other projects approach community building and engagement.
It could inspire a new wave of projects that prioritize inclusivity, transparency, and genuine community participation.
It's an exciting prospect, and it'll be fascinating to see how it unfolds.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits of this approach. But what about the potential drawbacks? Are there any risks or concerns that we haven't considered yet?
Well, one concern is that this grind fight model could lead to an overemphasis on marketing and hype at the expense of the project's underlying technology or fundamentals.
That's a valid point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a competition and lose sight of what really matters.
Exactly. And if the focus shifts too much towards winning the presale, it could create a culture of speculation and short-term thinking rather than genuine long-term commitment to the project.
So it's important for Boy the Bear to make sure that the grind fight doesn't overshadow the core value proposition of the project they need to strike a balance between community engagement and technological substance.
Absolutely. And it's also important to remember that this approach is still an experiment. There's no guarantee that it will work as intended.
Right? There are always unforeseen challenges and unintended consequences when you try something new.
Exactly. But even if this particular model doesn't become the standard, it's still a valuable exploration of alternative ways to launch a project and engage a community.
It's pushing the boundaries of what's possible and challenging the status quo, and that kind of innovation is essential for the evolution of the crypto space.
I completely agree. Even if Boy the Bear doesn't completely revolutionize pre-sales, they're sparking a conversation, raising awareness, and prompting us to rethink our assumptions.
And that in itself is a valuable contribution. It's about pushing the boundaries, experimenting with new ideas, and collectively shaping a better future for crypto.
And for the Avalanche community specifically, it's an opportunity to be at the forefront of that change.
It's about showing the world that Avalanche is more than just a fast and efficient blockchain. It's a community of innovators, collaborators, and forward thinkers who are willing to challenge conventions and explore new possibilities.
And that's a powerful message to send.
It really is. Yeah. But as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to shift gears a bit and bring this back to you, the listener. What are your thoughts on this whole grind fight concept? Does it excite you, intrigue you, or maybe even make you a little bit uncomfortable? We'd love to hear your perspective.
And as you reflect on this idea, consider this. If this model proves successful, how do you think it could impact the future of crypto communities? Could it lead to a more inclusive, engaging, and rewarding experience for everyone?
So we've really dug into this whole grind fight
Yeah.
concept, right? The potential benefits, the possible drawbacks. And I don't want to bring it back to you, the listener.
Yeah, we've talked about how Boy the Bear is using this approach to, try and make pre-sales more inclusive and engaging for the whole Avalanche community.
And how this model, if it works, could even become like a blueprint for other projects looking to launch in a fairer and more transparent way.
But what does it all really mean for you, someone who's actively involved in the Avalanche ecosystem?
That's the big question, right? What are the real implications of this whole experiment?
I think, on a practical level, it means you have a new way to participate in pre-sales.
Right. Instead of relying on luck or connections, you can actually increase your chances by actively engaging with the community.
By creating content, sharing ideas, and, contributing to the overall buzz around the project.
It's like they're saying, hey, we value your time and attention, and we're willing to reward you for it.
And that shift in thinking could have a really profound impact on the way we interact with crypto projects.
Instead of just being passive observers or investors, we become active participants.
Yeah.
Shaping the direction of the projects we believe in.
It's about having a voice, making a difference, and being a part of something bigger than yourself.
But it's also important to remember this is still very much an experiment.
There are no guarantees that it'll work exactly as intended.
And there are always potential risks and unintended consequences.
So as you consider this model, I really encourage you to think critically.
Ask yourself, does this approach resonate with me? Do I feel comfortable participating in this kind of grind fight?
And most importantly, what kind of crypto community do I want to be a part of?
Do I want a community that rewards hype and speculation, or one that values genuine engagement and contribution?
The answers to those questions will ultimately determine the success or failure of this whole experiment.
Because the future of crypto is not something that's predetermined. It's something we create together, through our choices, our actions, and our collective vision.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this final thought.
The future of crypto is in your hands.
It's up to you to decide what kind of community you want to build, what values you want to uphold, and what kind of impact you want to make.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay true to yourself.
And together, let's create a crypto world that's truly inclusive, innovative, and rewarding for everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.